Hello neighbors, welcome back. I am Ariana from The Therapist Next Door. Today I want to share with you my communication formula for healthy couples. So I'm going to give you a few tips and recommendations around communication in general, and I'm also going to walk you through step by step the formula that I think is a huge game changer for healthy relationships. So let's jump right in. First thing would be to determine if it's a good time and place to talk. So if you're the one that's wanting to bring something up, just check in with your partner, see if it's a good time. Now the reason why I say this is because sometimes we have things going on, we have stress. Some people are more morning people, more evening people. So you just want to make sure that your partner is going to be able to be present and have enough emotional bandwidth at that time and place that you're at to talk. So you don't want to talk right before you're going to leave to an important event. Again, you want to be mindful of that. Also, keep in mind that it is best to be able to be sitting face to face and being able to make eye contact. So a lot of people like to have conversations in the car. I can go into why that's not a good idea, but again, best case scenario is to be face to face. If your partner asks you if it's a good time to talk and it's not a good time to talk and you say no, you are responsible for offering another time. So you can't just say no. You have to say, hey, if this is important to you, then it's important to me. Right now isn't a good time, but I have some time tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening. And if you may even want to pencil that in or schedule that so that you can show your partner that it's important to you, whatever it is that they want to talk about. So that would be my first tip, just making sure it's a good time, making sure you set up that place where you can have that face-to-face conversation. Okay, next tip is make sure that you just bring up one topic at a time. So when you use this formula, you're wanting to use it just one thing at a time, one person speaking at a time. Now, if you guys both have the emotional bandwidth and you want to hit up maybe another topic, or your partner also wants to bring something up, then finish with one person first using the formula, and then you can go back and do it again from the top. Now, when it comes to who goes first, so sometimes your partner may want to talk about something and you don't really have to decide who goes first because they're the ones wanting to bring it to you. Now, sometimes you're both upset about something, and a lot of times I see my couples getting into this pattern where they never really get anything resolved. Nobody ever feels heard because they're both just kind of talking at each other and nobody's ever really taking turns speaking and listening. So usually what I recommend is for the person who seems to be most distressed or upset to go first. Now, when I say that, I don't mean angry. So if you are angry, it's better to take a time out until you're in a better headspace to be able to dialogue. Now, I am going to jump into the formula. So I know that's why you're here. So this is how it goes. The person that's going to be, let's say, talking about something that's bothering them or something that they want to mention is going to be using I statements. What that means is basically saying, I feel blank when blank happens. That's just kind of a simple example for how you can do that. A lot of us tend to use you statements. So things like, you were late, you make me feel this way. That doesn't work. When we say you or we point a finger, that will immediately make the person we're talking to feel defensive, and that's where things usually tend to go left. So you really want to take ownership for your feelings and you want to say how you feel. Now, another reason why this is helpful is because when you're able to be vulnerable about your feelings, usually your partner will be more empathetic and be able to listen better to you. Instead of them feeling attacked, they're actually going to lean in and see, you know, if they love you and they care about you, we're assuming that they're going to be empathetic to what feelings that you're having. So that is the first step of the formula. The person who is speaking is going to be using I statements. The second step of the formula is that the person who's going to be listening is going to be using something called reflective listening. Now, when you're listening, you're not listening to respond, to react, or to defend like most of us do. You're not listening simply to wait until your turn to talk, to say, well, you did this or whatever. No, you're actually listening almost as though you were going to be tested on, or you were going to be given a quiz. So you really want to understand where your partner is coming from. Now, this doesn't mean that you have to agree with your partner, but you want to understand. The goal here is to understand. One thing I will say about this that's important is your partner's perception is their reality. So you're going to waste a lot of time saying, no, that didn't happen, or no, I didn't do that, when if that's how they perceived it, if that's what happened for them, That is what happened for them. So the best thing you can do is understand why and how that happened. And again, be empathetic towards your partner. So once your partner is done speaking, again, hopefully they're only doing one topic at a time, you should be able to summarize back what you heard them say. It'll sound something like, I heard you say that you felt hurt when I didn't call you back the other day. So it could be something that simple. You should be able to be listening so well that you can reflect back, you can summarize and reflect back what your partner was saying. Once that happens, you want to just make sure that you heard your partner okay. So you may say something like, was that right? Did I hear you okay? If your partner says yes, the next thing that should probably happen is making a repair if it's something where you hurt your partner, whether it was intentional or not. So you want to express remorse. You want to let them know, that's not going to happen again. You want to thank them for sharing that with you. If it's not something where they were hurt, but maybe they just, want to express something to you, or they're wanting to change something in the relationship, you don't need to make a repair, but you can just simply acknowledge what was said, acknowledge that it was heard. This must happen, meaning your partner must feel heard and understood. You must express some sort of empathy before you can move on to problem solving. After you make repairs, after you acknowledge is when you can move into problem solving. At that point, both of you can kind of just throw some solutions out. Hopefully nobody's shutting anyone down, and kind of figure out what are some things that you may want to try to address what was brought up in the I statement. So that is the formula. Hopefully that was pretty easy to follow. I think that it's something that I would say is pretty difficult for most of us, not because the steps are difficult, but just simply because we're not used to communicating that way. Most of us didn't grow up seeing that kind of communication, so we tend to do what we know, and usually what we know is a lot different than that. But give it a try. I think it'll make a lot of changes in your relationship, and it'll make your communication and your relationship a lot stronger. One thing I will say is that a lot of us, we're uncomfortable with this, again, because it's not something that we're used to. It's not something we grew up with. So we sometimes become avoidant. We may become avoidant to bring things up, or we also may become avoidant when our partner wants to bring things up, and we may say it's not a good time, or I don't want to talk right now. But you really don't want to do this, because clear communication is really what fosters healthy and satisfying relationships. So try to always be game, if you can, to talk about anything and everything that your partner wants to talk about. Again, it's only going to make your relationship better. So if you tend to be avoidant, try to work through that. The only way out is through. As cheesy as it is, growth doesn't happen in the comfort zone. If you want your relationship to be better, you cannot continue to do what you've been doing, especially if it hasn't worked for you in the past. Use these steps, try this, let me know what you think. If anything I said was helpful, please give me a like, comment, subscribe to my channel. I really like to be able to bring this content, and I'd like to know more about what you are wanting to hear or learn about when it comes to relationships and communication. I'll see you guys soon. Authentically yours, Ariana.